here in the 33rd Congressional District that, as you can tell, is growing very rapidly. New constituents, I meet literally, I'm not kidding you, almost every day. I meet someone new that lives in the district. I was coming back from a trip overseas back in August. The customs guy on my way out said, "Hey, you're my congressman." I said, "Where do you live?" Sylvan 30, like all the time. And of course, with me being in my third term, trying to get reelected to my fourth term. It takes a lot of resources to be able to reach all these new voters. Even on the Tarrant County side, there's a new development called Viridian. Already 900 new residents out there, or 900 new homes out there already. If you look on the 33rd Congressional District map, it was a landfill in 2012. And now you already have 900 new homes out there, and eventually they plan to hopefully get up to 5,000 or so new homes or more in the area. So I mean, it's growing rapidly. I need to be able to communicate with these people about things that are going on in the world right now. I just mentioned to you that I was overseas. I was part of a group. I was back in August. I was part of a group of congressmen. It was me and two other members of Congress. First members of Congress to go to Somalia in 3 years. Met with the new president, and so when I opened up when I woke up on Sunday and saw that close to 300 people, and now over 300 people, were killed in a explosion there, probably by Al-Shabaab, which is an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. That was really very sobering to me, and very sad. They have a new president there that's trying to turn that country around, but it just shows that we really have to stay the course on terrorism, and that there are going to be people that are going to continue to try to destabilize the world through these bombings and what have you. And it was just, really sad what happened over there. Also sad, in my opinion, what's going on is, the President of the United States, like, he needs to be more definitive. He needs to show that he's on top of what's going on around the world. Like some of the comments and some of the things that are being related and said on foreign policy, as it relates to the soldiers, the 4 special ops soldiers that were killed in Niger last week before last, and just the confusion that's happening between him and the Republican leadership is even the Republicans shake their head. Even the Republicans shake their head. There's a lot of uncertainty in D.C. right now, and I got to tell you, when I first got elected to this position, and I would fly back and forth to Washington, D.C., people would always ask me. They would say, "Is it really as bad as it looked? The Democrats and Republicans hate each other so much that y'all can't even speak to each other in the elevators?" And I'm like, "No, it's not that bad at all." I said, as a matter of fact, one of the guys that you see on television a lot that makes these very colorful speeches is Louis Gohmert out of East Texas. I see Louis on the plane and chit-chat and talk with him all the time. I talk with Pete Sessions. I did an event out at SMU last night. Kay Granger, of course, she was the mayor of Fort Worth. So I've known Kay for a number of years. And, we all have a good relationship. We all represent different parties, but we have a good relationship. So it's not as bad as it looks on TV between Democrats and Republicans, particularly when they have these cable news shows where they line people up side by side and they have people go at each other's throat. And it lends the perception that things are worse than they really are. But what's happening in the executive branch right now is, I would tell you that it's worse than it looks. And although there aren't a lot of Republicans, only the ones that are leaving, like in Pennsylvania, Charlie Dent, who's a great guy. Charlie Dent and I went on a trip together to Germany to meet with members of the Bundestag and German business leaders over there that were doing business here back in 2013. And he was a really good bipartisan leader in Congress. But a lot of people, are both on both sides of the aisle, are really concerned about a lot of the rhetoric, about a lot of things that you're seeing, about the inaction that's going on. One of the areas that concerns me a lot, and you've heard me talk about it, is immigration. Like, we have a serious immigration issue, and we have a broken system in this country. And I thought that there was going to be some movement between Trump and the positive initial conversation that he had with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, that we're going to at least be able to do something to help dreamers. But now that looks like that is starting to fade away. We really need for the administration to step up on some of these issues. Tax reform. Democrats want to do something on tax reform. Like, we want to help pass a tax reform bill. We need to have a seat at the table. So what initially came out that would be very detrimental to the constituents that I serve, that's not that's not a good starting place. Like, we need to sit down together and work these things out the same way that Senator Murray and Senator Alexander seem to have worked out a bipartisan compromise on the Affordable Care Act. And I'm not sure if you saw that earlier today, but there was a compromise that was reached. I'm not sure how Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan are going to feel about it, but there was a compromise that was reached between Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington, and Lamar Alexander, a Republican out of Tennessee, on fixing the Affordable Care Act, which is what I've been saying we need to do all along. I mean, you look at the prosperity. It doesn't. You don't have to drive around Dallas long to see that there are a lot of things that are happening here. Sylvan, Trinity Groves, Bishop Arts, areas that I represent, other parts of Dallas, other parts of the Metroplex are growing like crazy. But even with all that wealth, all of that prosperity, all of the economic development that's happening here, I have the largest uninsured rate out of any congressional district in the United States. Over a third of the constituents I represent, according to the 2010 census, don't have health care insurance. Now, some of them were able to get insurance after the Affordable Care Act was passed. Some of them that found insurance to be too expensive because they were placed in a high-risk pool. Some of them that were denied because of pre-existing conditions. Some of those people have been able to get health care because of the Affordable Care Act. I don't want to see them lose their health care. And again, Democrats and Republicans need to work together. We don't need to repeal. We need to work together to fix the Affordable Care Act. I'm happy that President Obama and the Democrats, when they were in charge of Congress in 2008 until 2010, were able to work out a compromise and get the Affordable Care Act bill passed. It was not perfect, because I can tell you that the constituents that I represent, that the rates as they currently are still too high. I mean, if you're a single mom and you make $30,000 a year and you have 2 kids and you have to pay $500-600 a month for insurance, that you can't afford your insurance. You still can't afford your insurance. Like, we need to figure out how to get the rates lower so families, small business owners, large business owners that provide insurance for their employers, our union members that negotiate and sit down with employers that were concerned about the Cadillac tax and how that affected some of the plans that y'all sat down with management and negotiated for the employees that work under you guys. All of those things really need to be worked out. So I hope that we can do that. And again, I want to be hopeful on the Affordable Care Act fix that was announced today. But in everything, especially under this administration, changes very fast. I was very hopeful about a DACA fix just a couple of weeks ago, and now that seems to be changing, unfortunately, negatively very rapidly. So with that said, I'm going to end there. Again, thanks everybody for being here. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much again for coming out to my fundraiser. In Congress, you have to raise all the time, including when I'm in Washington, D.C. It's not unusual that I have to leave the business that I'm doing at the Capitol, leave the Capitol grounds so I can go and make phone calls. I mean, it's something that I have to do Monday through Friday. If I didn't think that I would bug you, I would probably call you on Saturday and Sunday. But I'm not going to do that. I will only bug you during the week and not on holidays. But again, just thank you so much for being there for me. I would not have been able to get elected without the help of so many of you in this room, and I would not be able to get re-elected without your help. It takes money. It is expensive. It takes resources. And it's just getting more expensive. Not only when I first started, and I was a staffer for Martin Frost, and I would take leave from his congressional office to go and work on his campaign. It was radio, TV, phone banks, direct mail. That was it. Now you still have all of that, but you also have to have a social media plan to be able to reach people on those platforms, and that costs even more money. And this market has grown larger. I think when I first started, I think this was the 8th largest television market in the country. I think it's like the 6th or 7th now. And so that it costs more to advertise on those platforms now, more than ever. And again, I could not do it without your help. So thank you very much. I also want to recognize Judge Ginsburg that's here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I know State Representative Roberto Alonso, his son and daughter are here. They have stopped by. Thank you very much. Tell Roberto, thank you. I appreciate you coming to represent. Thank you very much. And am I missing any other elected officials? I know that. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for John Warren, our treasurer of Dallas County, for coming out. And anybody? Am I missing? Thank you very much. Any questions? I do want to leave time to answer some questions.
Congressman, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, everybody keep eating. Thank you very much.